Hey, you know Game Pass. It's that thing where you give Microsoft money every month and then you take a job as a winter caretaker in a remote skiing resort and you start to sort of see and hear troubling things, and then one night the elevator doors open and out floods a huge torrent of games. You're like, no, what's going on? Why am I covered in games? How am I supposed to tell which of these games is any good? Well, good news, friends. We're here for that very purpose. So stay tuned for the games coming your way on Game Pass in July 2023.
Is that why his name was Jack Torrance? Because of the torrents of games?
Torrents of... Well, there was blood in The Shining, but it's games in this...
Not analogy.
Simile.
Realistic
thing.
Scenario that happens every time.
Exoprimal is an online team-based action game that pits humanity's cutting-edge exosuit technology against history's most ferocious beasts, dinosaurs. Also, I just wanted to bring up, I saw a photo of a Microsoft ball from the 1920s and I was in it. And the camera sort of zoomed in on me. And I was like, what? And there was Phil Spencer was next to me in the photo.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what? How is this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, Exoprimal contains history's most fearsome beasts. That's right, the terrible thunder lizards known as dinosaurs.
Now, they're thunder turkeys now, aren't they? Due to recent scientific research, basically, they were like...
Thunder turkey lizards.
Yeah, they were big birds that sounded like...
Not Big Bird from Sesame Street.
How do you know he's not the missing link between dinosaurs and birds?
Damn. Maybe worth looking into.
Hangs out with a woolly mammoth?
Paleontologists,
I closed my case.
We've played some Exoprimal. It was fun.
It was fun.
How would you describe it?
I would describe it as a sort of Overwatch-style hero shooter combined with a sort of Left 4 Dead but with dinosaurs.
Can I point out what a brilliant job I'm doing to play this with no opposable thumbs? I only have those tiny T-Rex hands with 2 little fingers.
That's not a very elegant description, but it pretty much covers everything.
It's team-based, so you have 2 teams of 5 people playing against each other. The main mode is called Dino Survival, and you're either competing against another team to complete the objectives as quickly as possible, or working with them to complete objectives as quickly as possible. But the way it sort of plays out is you start out with objectives, which is to kill a load of dinosaurs, and then at the end you do an Overwatch-style escort the payload.
Yeah, it kind of funnels the 2 teams. If it's their opposing teams, it funnels the 2 teams together, and chaos ensues.
And also it's got like a really wide range of these exosuits for you to wear. So we were playing 5-player, and we were all in different exosuits, and there were probably about another 8 that we could have broken into.
And you can switch in between. And it doesn't really do that thing where you need like a balanced team per se.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of these sort of adversarial stuff, you're not directly attacking the other team. You're directly attacking a ton of dinosaurs, potentially a T-Rex.
So you get sort of updates on how they're doing as well. And you're like, oh god, we're falling behind. But yeah, there's some cool ones. There was Roadblock is the sort of explosives focused one. There was Witch Doctor, which is like a healer class. There was one that Ellen was playing out that had a sort of sword for like close quarters combats, and then there's like sniper based ones and stuff. So a lot of variety. It's really good fun, and that's coming away on Game Pass on the 14th of July. Next up is Arcade Paradise, coming your way on the 3rd of July. With the keys to the family laundromat, Ashley decides to transform the business and give the sleepy town of Grindstone something to get excited about. Stay one step ahead of your father, manage and invest profits, and build your very own arcade paradise. So this is a game that might appeal to you, Mike. It's about you taking over a laundry business and like stealthily turning it into an arcade.
Yeah, which is essentially what I'm doing, but to loading bar at the moment. This is definitely a game built for me. It's so charming and sort of atmospheric, the way you have to kind of, at the start you're sort of trying to keep the laundry going.
Yeah, you have to do some laundry stuff.
And
then you take the quarters out of the laundry machine and
use them to buy arcade machines, like the sort of classic Japanese sort of candy cabs, they're called. And
it's got like over 35 like original arcade games that they've made
inspired
just for
by
this.
the era.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it just the sort of vibe and aesthetic is so of a time that it's really, really charming. And you kind of build out your arcade, and then you can expand into the sort of back room and add more arcade machines and stuff. And as a concept,
expands the decades as well. So you can get like early sort of vector games, and then like right up to the sort of 32-bit era, which is really cool. And also, your dad doesn't like turn up, but he's phoning you all the time and being like, "What are you doing to my laundromat? Better not be turning it into an arcade."
Hello, Ashley. This is your father calling. Welcome at long last to the real world and real responsibility.
But he's voiced by Doug Cockle, who plays Geralt in The Witcher games.
It's like The Witch is funny. You have to say, don't turn my laundromat into an arcade.
The Witch is like, what are you doing to my laundromat? better not be arcade games. There aren't. In the background, it's like bloop, 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 bloop.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is coming to Game Pass on the 3rd of July. So not long to wait for this one. I'm definitely going to give this one.
Yeah, it should be really good fun.
Next up, Sword and Fairy Together Forever, which is coming out on the 5th of July. Weaving its tale between the 3 clans of human, deity and demon, Sword and Fairy Together Forever puts you in command of a memorable party of characters, each with unique personalities, motives, skills, strengths and weaknesses. Only together can they shape the future. Now, I've never heard of this series before, but it turns out it's been going since 1995.
1995?
There are 9 games, and it's one of the most iconic role-playing game series of all time, with TV series, novels, films, comic books and stage shows. It's by the Taiwanese developer Softstar, hugely popular in Taiwan and China, mostly been on PC up to this point. I mean, it's fairly inscrutable if you don't understand the sort of the history of this series. But
the last nearly 30 years.
Yeah, this is sort of the first time it's been really accessible. I think this version, Sword and Fairy Together Forever, appearing on consoles. So I think this is going to be the first chance a lot of people get to sort of get their hands on it. I think it looks like a good JRPG style adventure game.
Yeah.
Cool combat, like very stylish characters, and it looks beautiful. So I think this might be the time for people to give it a go.
I think we say this quite a lot in these videos, but like this is the point of Game Pass, right? This is not a game we'd ever heard of, but it is a game that is wildly popular, and it must be popular for a reason. So yeah, as an opportunity to try a game like that you wouldn't otherwise have even heard of, as part of the subscription, I think it's really good.
I mean, this is the case with like Monster Hunter as well, right? That used to be like huge in Japan and the East, but like didn't really make it over here. And then everyone got into Monster Hunter, and now it's huge. So it might be the same for Sword and Fairy. Who knows? But you can give it a go yourself when it hits Game Pass on the 5th of July. Next up, Tectonica hits Game Pass on July the 18th. Tectonica is a first-person factory automation game set beneath the surface of an alien planet. Work alone or in co-op to build factories, gather resources, research new technologies, mold the destructible terrain, establish a base of operations, and uncover long-forgotten secrets. So this is one of those industrializer games, like Factorio or something, where you have to build a giant factory. It's set below the surface of an alien planet. And what's kind of interesting for this genre is it's got like destructible terrain, so you have to sort of carve out the space for all your
machines.
All of your machines and your factories and stuff. You tunnel around to find new resources, and you can uncover secret caves that are full of like artifacts from like ancient civilizations that have different technology that you can sort of discover and incorporate into your own stuff.
It's all first person as well, which is like quite cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got that very cool, like, glowing plants, bioluminescent sort of like animals and fauna and flora and stuff like that. So it looks really cool. It does feel a bit like you're sort of taking this beautiful natural planet and just like drilling this core out of it and putting a big
fracking the hell out of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's the point of these games. So if you're into that, this looks like it might be the sort of game for you.
If you're into the destruction of the environment.
If you're into fracking,
fill your boots.
Check it out. But no, it does look cool. And that's
with rare earth minerals.
Yeah, coming to Game Pass on July the 18th.
I've got to say, like, automation is going to probably steal all our jobs. Do we really want to be playing games about helping that process along?
But bioluminescent flora.
All right, I'm in.
Next up, The Wandering Village is hitting Game Pass on July the 20th. The Wandering Village is a city-building simulation game on the back of a giant wandering creature. Build your settlement and form a symbiotic relationship with the Colossus. Will you survive together in this hostile yet beautiful post-apocalyptic world, contaminated by poisonous plants? Well, Mike, will you?
I don't know. A wandering village sounds extremely inconvenient to me. Like, what about your post? Like your mail?
Yeah,
does that arrive?
So yeah,
Amazon have enough trouble delivering to me.
Well, they've got drones now; they'll fly it up.
Yeah, that's true.
But the twist on this one is that you're building your city on the back of a big walking animal called Onbu.
It's a big floppy, lizardy, horse-looking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's got like resource management, and there are roguelike elements in it, and it's all connected to Onbu, which is constantly like plodding across. It's massive and plodding around, and the idea is that you need to build your city, but you also need to build the relationship that you have with the creature that you're on the back of, because your interests don't necessarily align.
So no to fracking then.
Yeah, well you can't. Yeah, well, you say that, but there is a mechanic in the game where if you haven't grown enough food, you can draw blood from the creature to like feed your town.
Oh dear.
If you've had a failed harvest or whatever, which is kind of interesting, but also the creature has its own aims, so it's trying to, do whatever. It's growing spikes in places that you want to build a, I don't know, town hall, things like that. So you can, be like, this spike's inconvenient, going to cut that off. And Onbu's like, well, I was using that, so thanks.
Imagine you go for a few pints with your friends in the big city, and you come back half cut, and you're like, where the hell did I leave my village?
Yeah.
It's just wandered off into the...
Yeah. Or like
distance.
Onbu's grown a big spike in it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's blood for dinner again. But yeah, it sounds really interesting. That's coming on July the 20th. So
nice.
Check that out if you're into the idea of, it's like the Discworld thing, a Greater Tuin, the big
I'm a big fan in general of the concept of walking villages.
Yeah.
I liked it in Golden Axe, I like it in Discworld. Pretty sure there was the Howl's Moving Castle count.
Do you remember the walking mausoleums in Elden Ring? Those
Yeah.
were really cool. So
There you go.
Yeah.
I think there's firm evidence that people love a walking village.
Venber is a short narrative cooking game where you play as an Indian mum who immigrates to Canada with her family in the 1980s, hitting Game Pass on July the 31st. Players will cook various dishes and restore lost recipes, hold branching conversations, and explore in this story about family, love, loss, and more. So this looks really interesting. It's like a narrative puzzle game in which you're a mum who just like cooks food all the time for her family.
Yep.
And you sort of like talk to your family as you cook for them, but there's a puzzle element as well in that you're trying to
Assemble the dishes.
You have to assemble dishes, and there's some ingredients are missing, and you have to sort of figure out like what should go in the food. Apparently, the playtesters who were cooks were doing a lot better than playtesters who weren't, so they're sort of trying to pitch the difficulty so that people who don't know how to cook aren't just like finding it impossible.
Well, my mother-in-law is Indian, and so I feel like I should play this game with my mother-in-law, and that it'll be a bonding experience.
Yeah.
Although the cuisine in this is Southern Indian, it's Tamil cookery, whereas my mother-in-law is better with the kind of Punjabi, Northern Indian stuff. But yeah, I think she'd probably get a real kick out of it. So,
well, the idea that the game wants to explore is the kind of the relationship between. With first generation immigrants, the relationship between like fully assimilated children and non-native, so assimilated parents, which is, and a lot of the idea of the communication is through like serving food as a way of like showing an act of love to your family, which I think is really interesting.
It's a huge part of Indian culture and stuff. And
yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting as a sort of narrative game. And
so it sounds like the soundtrack is really interesting as well, because they've got a radio playing in the kitchen the whole time, and it's full of Tamil music throughout the ages, which is probably something you haven't heard before in a video game. So, maybe check it out even just for that. Finally, we have a game that you may have missed that came out in late June, Need for Speed Unbound, which hit the service on June the 22nd. Race to the top? Definitely don't flop. Outsmart the cops and enter weekly qualifiers for the Grand, the ultimate street race. Pack your garage with precision-tuned custom rides and light up the streets with your style. Mike, do you want to light up the streets with your style?
Yes. Actually, to be fair, that is mostly what I spent that game doing, was buying all of the clothes and then dressing up my character. I will show on screen now some of my looks.
Eurogamer described this as the best Need for Speed in a generation. Do you agree with that?
No, I disagree entirely. And actually, I was having an argument with the person who wrote that review about this very subject last night.
Okay, well, I mean, it's Criterion as the lead studio, right? And they're Criterion are the best ones.
But they sort of Criterion's changed a lot since the days of Burnout and things like that. My problem with the game, and it's not a deal breaker, but my problem with the game is that you have to pay to enter any event, and if you like have a catastrophic collision on the final corner, you'll actually like lose money. So you can be losing progress rather than gaining progress in terms of it. And even if you do win, that it's at a cost of what your buy-in was. So I found it a bit grindy. But if it's free for you on Game Pass, then it's worth a try. And the actual driving and the visual style is great, and I obviously love the outfits. Soundtrack's great. So it's got a lot of good elements, but I think there's something fundamental about the way it plays that I wasn't as keen on.
It sounds to me, and I've not played it, but it sounds to me like the sort of Dark Souls of racing games, in that you can't bank your earnings unless you get home to a safe house not being pursued by the cops.
Yeah.
So it has that kind of Souls-style mechanic to it. So maybe that's why you don't like it, because you're a baby, you can't play hard games.
That is not true. I do love that mechanic. So basically during the day you can kind of muck about as much as you like and the cops won't come after you. But as soon as night falls, like you get
Cop
these
Central.
you get these escalating police chases where more and more cops are being thrown at, and your multiplier's going up. But then you've got to escape them and get back to your home base to bank the money, and it's just such a good mechanic. They did it a bit in Need for Speed Heat, the game previously, but like as a mechanic for those games, it's brilliant, and it should be in more sorts of games.
So if people, are subscribed to Game Pass and can get it for free, would you still recommend checking it out?
I definitely recommend checking it out, if only for the outfits alone. I would say they are so good.
So that's what's coming your way in July on Game Pass. Mike, which out of those games do you think you're most likely to check out?
I'd like to play Venber.
Okay, cool. I'm going for Arcade Paradise. I'm going to build an awesome arcade
Yeah, I should probably play that.
in some guy's laundromat. Let us know in the comments what games you're going to be checking out this month. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more of these kind of videos from Outside Xbox. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.